Hi, everybody. I'm Aaron from Boss, and I'm here today with Austin Sandick.
Up, everybody. How's it going?
Austin, thank you for joining us. Today, we are here to talk about the RC-5, and you can think of this as a video owner's manual. We're actually going to walk you through, the shortest distance to fun first, just kind of how to set up the pedal and how to have fun with it right out of the box, how to connect it, and how to kind of navigate. After that, we're actually going to go through the menus a little bit more and give you an idea of where you can find the different parameters to adjust inside this unit. And then in a couple of future videos, we'll actually go more in depth and talk about foot switch control and adding extra controls extra foot switches to the RC-5, as well as, if you're interested in it, getting into MIDI controlling the RC-5. So lots of fun, a lot of information to go through. But first, let's start out with opening up the box and seeing what you get. So let's open up the box here. I got a brand new RC-5. I'm going to pop it open. Got a bunch of paperwork. And you got the most important part, which is a pedal. Pop that open. Put that there. So nice brand new RC-5. So a few different pieces of paperwork here. You've got this little green one is a QC. Next part we have up is the safety guide. Information on here, different languages. That's why it's so thick, but different language basically on using the unit safely. Also, we have the owner's manual. Owner's manual is super important, and a lot of good information that you can find about the unit that you've just purchased. So definitely check it out. Last piece of paper in here is the register card. And the register card is super important. All compact pedals from Boss have a 5-year warranty. So it's always good to register. There is the option of using the QR code over here, or you can go to the website that's listed on this card as well. But highly recommend it. We will be doing stuff like adding, sending out emails for things like updates and stuff like that in the future. So definitely cool to log in and be a part. First thing you got to do is connect it. First thing up on the back here, you've got your power connection is over here. Okay, this is where it uses powered off of a 9-volt. I'm actually, or is there a 9-volt power supply or a 9-volt battery if you want. Really quick, let me just show you that too. So if you want, you can open it up. And inside, ships with battery, but there's one in there and it's loaded. But if you want to run it off a 9-volt battery, you can. Otherwise, you can connect it with a 9-volt power supply. I'm using a Boss PSA 120S2, and basically connects it here and on the back. So as you can see, nothing is powered up yet, right? And that is because this unit is powered up once you plug into output A over here. This is the power on section. And so basically, if you plug it in, I'm actually going to use 2 connectors here so you can hear the audio in stereo when we get to the drum sounds. But generally, in most cases with an amplifier, you would just use it through the A mono section. So if I click that in, powers up the unit, and you can see it light up over here. So this would go off to my amplifier or to the return of my effects loop, depending on how I'm setting this up with an amp. And like I said, I'm just running the stereo so you can hear the drums clearly in stereo. For the guitar side, all right, if you have a cable, plug it in over here on input A, and you can connect your guitar. Now, this is cool too, though, is that this unit is not only used for, if you want for guitar or for, a 1/4-inch instrument, it's also stereo. So you could connect it with a keyboard if you wanted to, or any type of device that is basically running stereo output. And that's how you connect it and get yourself up and running right now.
All right, so there are 2 common ways when you're using a looper to cable it going into your amp. So the first way and the most common way is that you have a variety of pedals already on the floor, and you want to put the looper as close to the end of your chain as possible. So that way, like if you have effects beforehand, they're not going to go on top of the loop when you go to overdub or when you're playing directly through your amp. So what you want to do is you want to take your guitar or wherever your pedal board chain ends, you want to take that output and you want to run it into input A of the RC-5. And you're going to take output A and you're going to run that into the input on your amplifier. So that's option 1 that you have, and that's usually for like a single channel amp that doesn't have channel switching, or an effects loop, which is the second option that you can use. So and this is probably the best way to do it if you're running, like, let's say a Katana 100 for example, is basically all of the internal effects and the preamps inside of it, and have it not be on top of the loop. So if I were to run option A through an amplifier that has an effects loop that I'm using 2 channels with, so anytime I change the channel, it's going to affect the loop if the looper is going into the input of my amp. So now the cabling for 4-cable method is as follows. So you're going to take whatever is in the send of your amp, right? So the cable that's coming from the send of your amp is going to go to the input on input A on the RC-5. And then you're going to go from the cable from the output of the RC-5A, and then you're going to go into the return of your amplifier. This pretty much puts the looper past the preamp section of your amp, and you're basically just going into the to the output transformer, and you can freely switch channels, have a clean amp, and then play a distorted lead on top of it without affecting the loop. And that's probably the best way that I've seen to run it if your amp has the ability to have an effects loop. If not, option A, where it's just running linear into the front of your amp, is totally a great way to run it as well.
Yeah, if you think about it, signal flow wise, you're basically putting the looper after the preamp section of your amplifier. So the preamp section is where all the drive and the gain is coming from. And so you're putting this after that, but before the power amp section of the amp, which basically pushes up the volume of everything. So the best spot to put it is in the effects loop if you can.
All right, thanks, Aaron, for taking us through the box, everything that's inside, as well as connecting your RC-5 to your amp or PA system or output system, as well as getting it powered up and ready to go. So now that we got it all hooked up, now it's time to make our first loop. So let's go ahead and make our first loop. So the magic number for here is going to be the number 1, right? So if we're counting in a measure of 4/4, we want to start the loop on the downbeat of 1, or open the recording on the downbeat of 1, and then we want to press this button again on the downbeat of 1 at the end of our phrase. So let's say we're going to do a 4-bar phrase. We're going to go ahead and press the record button on the downbeat of 1, and then at the very end of that 4 bars, on the downbeat of the 5th bar, we're going to go ahead and press that button again. So it works exactly like tape. You basically press the record, it starts immediately recording, and then you stop and you can loop it back around. So I'll go ahead and count us off here, and I will take you through making your first loop. So we'll do something really simple here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 2, 3 on the downbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see how it now is even because you started the loop on the downbeat of 1 and then you ended it on the downbeat of 1. So perfect. You now have made your first loop and you can start playing on top of it. And then if you want to stop the loop, we simply just give it a quick 1, 2. And then if I wanted to lay another part on top of that while it's playing back, I simply press the pedal once to get into overdub mode. And then I can basically play and it'll be printed on top of that loop. So G. To turn off overdub, we do that. And then for undo and redo, we basically push and hold while it's playing back for 2 seconds. And then the top layer will go away. If we want to add that layer back, we do the exact same push. We push and hold for 2 seconds. And it'll bring that layer back. If we want to go ahead and start another loop from scratch, we want to go ahead and clear this. We basically press and hold for 2 seconds. And then it'll stop the loop and clear it. So now I have a blank slate to work from. The next way we're going to do it is to play it with the rhythm on. So this is going to be simple. I'll go ahead and turn on my rhythm here. It's a little fast. Let's adjust that tempo. It seems like a pretty good spot right there. And again, basically we want to come in on the downbeat of 1. So either you can listen for the downbeat of 1 on the drum beat, or you can look for the red LED that comes up on the tempo light. That will indicate the downbeat or the 1 in that section. All right, so we can count along, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's always good to kind of, and this is a great way to get used to playing along with the rhythm if you kind of struggle with your internal metronome. So it's really good to play against a backing beat, right? And then we can always just, again, press twice and the rhythm will stop with the loop.
So first off, you've got your screen up here. Right, and the screen actually does different things depending on what you were doing with it. So in its most basic, as I want to, let's say if I want to record something, right, I hit the foot switch and it'll actually change and give me a different color if I want. And this is telling me that I'm in record mode. If I push it again, it goes green for playback mode. And if I hit it again, it goes to a yellowish color, and that is an overdub mode. Double tap, then it stops. So you got your screen, gives you some information. And then also you're going to see up here, it's going to tell you which memory slots you're on. So the big numbers right here on the left, that is my different memory slots. And I have 99 that I can choose from. And, you can either do the knob. If you turn this as a knob and a button here, this memory loop level knob, it's actually a button if I push down on it. And it'll actually take me to, if I push down on any preset or memory slot, it'll actually take me to the looper level, and I can adjust the looper level. So multi-purpose screen, very, very cool. The other part too on the screen is if I have recorded something, you're going to see it light up in a kind of like a whitish color on the background. And so by default, everything is going to be like a blue, dark blue color. And that means that you haven't recorded anything to it. If I've recorded, it's going to be a much lighter color to it. And it's basically just telling me that I've recorded something here and there's some information down here. You can also rename these, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So as you're moving through, your very first, you've got your 4 buttons here. And this is what the part that I really like about the RC-5 is that they've actually put a lot of control and a lot of parameters that you have to be able to adjust. But at the same time, they've made it actually really, really easy to kind of navigate through. So if we want, like the very first one here is right, the rhythm, and I've got my tempo button. Basically, you see it blinking right now, and it's giving me an indication of what the tempo is. If I push this and hold it down, it'll actually take me to the tempo. And I have 2 ways of adjusting tempo. If I want to, I can either turn the knob, so hold this down and turn the knob, and it'll actually take me through, and I can go left to right. Real quick trick too is I'm turning stuff. If I want to go in increments of 10, push the button down on the knob and then turn, and it'll actually jump up in 10s. If I want to adjust over here on the a fractional thing, I can go over here and add in just by pushing the button, and it takes me back and forth between the main BPM, and then I can actually do it like a 0.5 if I wanted to, which is really cool. But that's the tempo. And then the other way to do the tempo is you just tap the button. So if I'm holding it here and I tap, it'll actually change tempo for me. And if I do it really quick, it'll go really quick. Do it really slow, it goes really slow. So, and again, I can adjust it right here if I want to go back, and I can turn the knob to fine tune where I'm at. Now, once you've got it going, you've got your tempo going. Right? If you let it sit, it'll just go back to the main screen. But then now I can turn on, and if I want to, I can listen to my rhythm, right? And that is with the on-off button here for rhythm. And the first time I push it, right, what it is doing is going to blink. And basically what it is right now doing is it is armed so that if I hit the record button, or basically the foot switch over here on the bottom of the pedal, it will actually trigger the drums to play and basically for me to loop my, my parts against a rhythm. So here, check it out. So if I push this around, now I'm in a record mode with the drums playing. Double tap and it stops it. Okay, so now let's take a look at the rhythm on-off menu here. So if I hold this down, it'll take me into the rhythm menu. Basically, this is the real rhythm menu where you're going to find all the different parameters that you can use to adjust the rhythm section. First up, you'll see up here is the level, and I'm using the memory and loop level knob here to go back and forth between what is on the top up here and what is down below. So like this number 100 here, that's the level. If I want to adjust that, I'm going to push this button and you'll see the arrow take me down to the lower level here. And now I can actually adjust the level if I want to. I'll play some drums. So I hit the button and that arms it, push it again, starts it up. And I can take the rhythm all the way down, or I can bring it all the way up. And if you're down low and you want to jump up in increments of 10, push down on the memory loop level and turn up and turn it, and it'll jump up in tens. So I want to go back up to this upper level here. So I push the button and you'll see the arrow go back up. And now I can move on to the next parameter. So turn the knob to the right and you've got reverb level. So I can actually adjust and add reverb to my rhythm if I want to. So again, here I'm going to turn on the rhythm and I'll adjust the reverb for it. I really like the reverb myself. It just adds a little bit more of that realistic kind of sound to the drums. And then if I hear again, you hit this button, it takes you back up to that main top level there, and then I can turn to the right again. And it'll take me to my next parameter, which is patterns. And now this is the cool part because you can adjust the different types of patterns that you're playing. Right now we've been listening to a simple beat. But if I push down here on the button, it takes me down to this lower level, and now I can adjust the different beats that I'm listening to. So I can basically think of them as different grooves. So again, I'll start the drums, and I'll just kind of move through the different ones. So those are just a kind of a quick sampling of the different types of patterns that are in there. Again, think of the patterns as different grooves that you can play along to. All right, so push the button and you can take you back up to the upper level here. And again, turn the knob to the right and you get to the next section, which is variations. So from the beats that I actually have different variations that I can play through. So again, this is just adding a little bit more performance, ideas and concepts to your playing, so you can adjust and make stuff sound more natural or more, give you a different type of a feel. So check this out. If I start the rhythm again, and you'll hear it again, we're on real quick. Go back. We're on simple beat 1, right? So we're going to have 2 different variations: an A variation and B variation. So hit the drums. And the cool part is on the variations is you can hear that there's like a little bit of like a fill that goes through to bring you back into the other section. So again, adding that little bit of performance realism that you would find, if you were playing with a real drummer. All right, moving on from the variation, we get over to variation change. And this basically, all that is doing is, this is where I can kind of decide where the variation change is going to happen. I can have it happen on the measure, or I can adjust it to be at the loop end. So basically it would wait until my loop gets to the very end of its point before it would actually go into the variation change. Or if I have it here at measure, it'll basically do it at the end of whatever measure, after I've hit the button to change it. Moving on, you've got your kit. And this is cool too. Again, you had all those different grooves, right? We can actually change the sound of the kit that is playing those grooves. So we have different drum kits to options. Right now we're set for studio. Here I'm going to hit the rhythm, we'll play it through, and I'll go through the different options that you have. So again, if I'm here on kit, right, I want to adjust this lower level. So I push the button, takes me down to the lower level. And now I can adjust and play around through the different kits. So really cool, because you can have like a shuffle with a rock kit, or you could have, like a 4/4, simple rock beat with a jazz kit if you wanted to, or you could use brushes. So, again, more options for you to, just add some realism to what you're playing against. All this stuff is very performance based, just stuff to make it more natural sounding. When you're playing around with electronic drums, basically. Again, here if we move this memory loop level, it'll take you over to the beat, and here is where I can adjust the time signature if I want. By default, I think everything is set for 4/4, but here is where you can adjust and do 5/4. You can do 6/8 if you want to, 7/8 even, or even getting crazy and do a 15/8. Anyone looking to do a polka, you got your 3/4 as well. And, like I'm pretty much a 4/4 guy, so that's where I'm going to leave it for now. But this is where you can adjust it. Moving on from here, we get to the start menu here for the loop. So this is where I can adjust how the loop starts and stops, basically. Or I should say how the rhythm section starts and stops. So at this point, it's at the start of the loop, it'll do it. If I take it over to, let's say, before loop, this is kind of an interesting thing where you can, again, it's more of a performance type thing, where, let me take this out. So I'm going to go here and exit out of here. I'm in before loop mode, right? So I'm going to arm my rhythm track. Now, check this out. What you're going to see up here is you're going to see this turn red because I'm going to hit the button to start recording. But when I do that, look at the bottom line here. You're going to see that the recording actually hasn't started yet, and it won't start until I actually hit the button a second time. So the first time basically is going to trigger the drums. Drums are going to start playing, not recording anything, not recording my loop until I hit the foot switch again, and then you'll see it. Basically it'll start to record. So check this out. So right now, remember, I'm armed on my drums. They're blinking, and I'm going to hit start on the foot switch. Now, as you can see here, right, it hasn't started recording yet until I push this button again. I'm going to hit the foot switch again, and now you see it recording. Hit it again one time, takes me into playback mode, double tap to stop. So yeah, cool thing where, again, this is just, a way for you to, on that particular one where you can fire off, trigger the drums without having to actually go bend over to push the buttons to make that happen. You can do it with just a foot switch and the built-in foot switch on the unit. So different options there on how you want to start and stop. You can do it on record end as well. Moving on though, from there, next parameter to adjust, you've got your stop. And again, this is where I can adjust where the loop's going to start, where it's going to end. So I can make it where when I hit basically the loop stops, that's when it's going to stop the rhythm section. If I want, I can make it where it goes all the way to the record end before it actually stops. Again, more variations just to allow you to, to modify and to, tweak this to, your playing style.
You here real quick. And basically I'm going to push the pedal once, right? Right? So nothing going on right now. Nothing's being printed until I actually push this pedal again. So this is another good way that we can actually use the foot switch to start the rhythms as opposed to the actual physical button on the face of the unit. So now I can kind of count myself in along with it and then tap on the downbeat of 1. Remember, downbeat of 1 is always your friend. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Still need to focus on the downbeat of 1 on the beginning and the ending, but this is also a really cool way for you to, start the rhythms with your feet and then, continue playing on because, your hands are kind of occupied doing this. So moving on in ways that you can start the rhythm in coordination to your loop, the next one is going to be called record end. So that means that when the loop is finished recording or once you close that loop, that's when the drums will kick in. So for this, we're just going to need to make sure our drums are on standby. All right, and then we can go ahead and start making a loop. Remember, downbeat of 1 to open and downbeat of 1 of the closing measure to close. All right, so 1, 2. And then the rhythm will kick right in as soon as you're done looping. Again, with this layer, you definitely want to play with enough rhythmic precision just because the tempo of the drums is relying on your input to quantize the rhythm. And that is how you can use record end to start your rhythm. All right, so one of the ways that you can actually stop the rhythm is to actually not stop the rhythm at all. So in the menu, you can actually turn off the stop feature along with the loop. So by default, when you open and close a loop, the drums will start and stop with that open and close. But in this case, the stop will actually be turned off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on the drum beat for this little demo. All right, I got my drum beat going. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a loop. I'm going to go ahead and close it out and loop with it. I'm going to then delete that loop while the drums are still going, and I'm going to be able to create another loop. So basically what I'm doing is I'm turning off the stop feature for the rhythm as I make a loop. So here we go. And 1, 2, 3. And again, that rhythm will keep playing and keep going for as long as the rhythm is actually engaged or turned on. So you can actually stop the stopping of the rhythm by just turning off the stop feature. All right, and one of the other features in stopping the rhythm in coordination with your loops is actually at the end of making a loop. So this is known as the record end feature. You saw this in the start options as well. So think of it that way, except at the end of your loop is when the rhythm is going to stop, right? So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my rhythm. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a loop. And then when I close it, you'll notice that the rhythm disappears. All right? And 1, 2. The rhythm actually turned itself off as soon as I'm done recording the loop. I can go ahead and stop that and actually clear it out. So that is how you can use record end with the rhythm stopping feature. Pretty cool.
Record count. This is where I can actually give myself a count in And if you turn this on, you basically have the option of doing a 1 measure count in. So basically you hear four beats before it'll actually start recording.
And basically what's going to happen is that it's going to give me a 1 measure metronome click, and then the rhythm will start. So here we go. The only thing you do have to worry about, though, is closing that loop. So the downbeat of 1 still matters. And later on, as Aaron takes you through the menu system and stuff like that, he'll be able to show you how you can adjust things to have it be a specific length of measure, so that way you don't necessarily have to press the button to close yourself out. You can let the RC close yourself out.
Over here, play count is where you've got, basically when it's playing, you can actually have, again, a measure going and counting for you if you want. Okay, moving on. So moving on from play count, the next one over is the fill. Now here on fill is actually, as you listen to the rhythm, you can, there's different types of fills as it moves from section to section. I have the ability to actually adjust what is being added in. So if I turn this on, you have the option here to go through and you have these different fills. If I go to the next section here, so if I turn the knob, right, I have different parts and I can actually turn these on and off. So I'm going to play a rhythm and I will add them in and or take them in and take them out. And then, so I'm going to basically turn, as I'm playing through this beat, you'll hear me switch between the different parts and take them in and out. So we go back over to, remember, fills on, and then you've got part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. So check this out. So again, just giving you different variations that you can do to play around with to, tailor the sounds of the drums to what you're playing. Very, very cool. A lot of different options in the rhythm section for the RC-5. Moving on from there, if you keep turning to the right, you'll get to the basically a simple EQ. You've got your tone low and tone high. Again, hit the button, it takes me to the lower level here, and I can adjust and add, or I can subtract out how much low end and high end I have. Just a basic EQ. Again, this is for when you're at the gig and you're playing and you realize that, there's there's not a lot of low end in this room, or there's too much low end and you need to adjust it. You can, on the fly, you'll be able to adjust your tones. Moving on from that EQ section, that is basically the last thing you have. So all you have to do to go back to the beginning is turn all the way to the left, and it takes you back to the beginning. You don't have to, but if I'm on the end here, all I have to do is hit out by holding the button down, and it'll take me back out to the main screen. And that is the rhythm on-off menu. Let's move on to the setup menu. So in the setup menu, you basically have a few different options here. You've got your general menu, you've got a control menu, a MIDI menu, and a storage menu, and then you've got your factory reset menu. Really quick, just going through them. We're not going through everything down here because we're going to go into detail with like MIDI and control later on in another video. But basically in the general section here, if I push enter, it'll take me here where I can adjust the display, so I can make it brighter or darker depending on my needs. If I'm in here, right, to adjust it, you just push again on the button, it'll take you down here, and you can adjust that. You can go on top of your display here if you want to. There is the ability to adjust the display mode of what you're seeing in the screen as you're recording. So right now it's going to give me the beat and the position. If I enter down here, and I can adjust that to be just the beat if I want to. Or I can make it the name and the position, or the number and position, status and position, or just position, status as well. So these are different options. Generally myself, I think I'm always a big fan of the beat and position one myself. And then if you want to go from the display mode, again, turn to the right, and it'll take you to the memory extension. And basically this is allowing me to tell the unit how many of the 99 presets I'm basically able to access at any given time. So if I want the minimum to be 1, I turn this all the way down to 1, and it'll take me, it'll let me play basically from the 0, 1. And if I go over here to maximum extension, right now it's set for 99, so I can access everything. But let's say I only want to do 5, turn this knob all the way down, and I can do it to number 5. And now I'm only going to be able to access presets 0, 1 through 0, 5. Basically, again, this is a thing where if you're not, if you're performing and you don't need to access all 99 of the presets, and you just want to narrow it down to a certain group, you have the ability to do that within the unit. And then here you have the ability to do the undo and redo section. So if I want, there's different options for undo and redo. If I push down and I basically change this to, I got options basically to hold or release. And so how this works is basically as I am playing, right? If I hold the foot switch down, it'll undo basically or redo basically as I'm holding that foot switch down. If I switch it over to release, it won't change until I actually release the pedal. So it basically, there's two, again, this is like a performance option that you have the choice of changing things. Push the button once, takes you back to this kind of main screen here of the setup menu. And then if I go on from general, right, if you go on to control is where if you want to connect foot switches to this unit and control different parameters that are in here. Same thing with MIDI. If you want to go, this is all your MIDI controls are going to be in here. And if you want to do any type of MIDI connections, basically, you're going to have to go into this menu. Moving on, so storage. So if you are connecting the RC-5 to a computer and you want to be able to access the files that you've got on the RC-5, then you need to come here to the storage section. And basically what this is going to do, if I hit enter, it just basically allows me to turn on and off the storage mode. When I turn this on, basically it'll go into a storage mode. And if I connect it with a USB output here to my computer, when it's connected, it'll actually show up kind of like a pen drive or like a portable hard drive. And it'll just basically, it opens up as a folder, and you see a bunch of different folders basically going from 1 to 99. And this is where it's going to store all of the audio loops that you've recorded. But this is where you go in. So anytime you want to connect it to your computer to access those files, you want to turn on the storage. Exit out of that, and then you're back here at the storage. If I continue on to the right, I get to factory reset. Now, the factory reset is always great if you've got, you want to start from square one and you've done stuff that you weren't happy with and you just want to wipe the entire unit. This is where you go. And you just hit enter. And it'll take you here. And you have options here. I can just, if I want to, I can just erase the memory section. Or if I want to, I can go in and erase just the system information. Or if you want to wipe the entire unit, you take it to memory and system and you hit basically the button. And it'll ask you, are you okay? And you say basically yes by hitting enter again, or turning this knob here and making it say okay or cancel, basically. And if I hit okay, it's going to, and hit the button again, it's going to wipe everything out. Right now, I don't need to do that with my unit, so I'm just going to hit cancel. And those are your options basically for your factory reset. Moving on, we're going to move on to the memory menu. So if you push the memory menu, this is basically anything in the memory menu is only affecting the preset or the memory that slot that you are on. So you have different options here. Basically from the memory, you've got your loop option, your rhythm option, naming. And if I go take it all the way back to the beginning here, so loop, right? Hit the enter button. And this allows me to find and access the reverse function. Again, I'm on this higher level right here, but I want to go down and turn it on or off, right? So I have to push this button to go down here. And now I can turn on and off the reverse function. Moving on from there, I can also do the one shot. If I only want the loop to play one time, I can turn it on and make it just a one shot. Very cool for using for like special effects at, like in between a song or something like that. You can do a one shot and it fires it off. You tune your guitar up while that part's playing, and then it stops, and then you're ready to go. Here you can adjust the level. Again, you can access the loop level from the main screen, but it's also here if you want to. This is a cool section here. If I turn to this is the record action. And this allows me to adjust how the order of record, overdub, and playback, basically, and how they go. By default, it goes record, play, overdub. But if I want to, I can go here, push enter, and I can adjust this to record, play, or I can make it go to record, overdub if I want to. So, it depends on the player. Different people like it different ways. Personally, myself, I like to have the go from record into play first, just because usually I'm trying to catch my breath after I got my loop, and I'm so happy I got my loop right. But the pros, I've seen them, they like to go straight into overdub mode. So, again, in a performance-wise, why would you want to do that? Performance-wise, obviously, if you're trying to record something, if I had a long loop, and I have to wait until the very end to overdub on it, then basically it's taking up some more time. So if I want to get quickly back into overdubbing my next part, having the ability to switch it over to overdub mode immediately, definitely from a performance-wise, it's definitely a cool function to be able to have. And then dub mode. So in dub mode, the overdub, right, as you're overdubbing, you have the option of making it where it's an overdub. Hit enter here, and I can change this parameter here. I can make it go and replace. So if I want, instead of doing an overdub and adding a part, I can actually set it up where it replaces a part. So different options, again, for your overdubbing that you can do. Again, this is like in a performance, definitely, it's kind of a cool function to have. This is where, if you turn the next section here, you've got your auto record. And this is where you can turn this on, basically. And basically, you can set the unit up to, auto record.
What this means and what happens when you do this, what happens when you set auto record on, is that I'll go ahead and hit the foot switch, right? It says it's recording, but again, as you'll see later on with the display, nothing's happening with it until I actually start making sound. The second that I start making sound, the record mode will actually start recording me. So let's say I go and 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You see the display changed? And 2, 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, downbeat. So it restarted automatically recording me as soon as it heard sound. So if you got that internal metronome and then you just start playing, that's another way to actually record and engage with your loops.
Record, like Austin has shown you in the video. Here is the option is to start it immediately, or I can set it up where it's going to fade in on my start, basically. And then I also have the option, if I go to the stop, and the next one, I can fade out if I want. I can do it immediate or fade out. Or I can make it to loop end as well. The cool part, too, is on the fade. So if I go to the next parameter, I have the fade time, and I can actually set up how slow it's going to fade out. And it actually goes up pretty high. If you jump up, it goes up to 64 measures you can fade out on. So it can be a very, very, very slow fade. General, in my, using it, I generally tend to set it up, I think, for usually like 4 measures. So I'll take this and adjust it down. That's usually a good fade time. But you have those options. And then here you have the ability to adjust the measure and whether or not, as you're recording, if it's a free, or I can set it up to be set to a tempo if I want to, or a time. So here, again, you can have the measures can be 1 measure, 2 measures, 3, 4 measures. But you have the ability to adjust what the measures are going to comprise. Now we're going to move on to the rhythm section. So really quick, this is the memory section where you can access the rhythm from this button. Basically, if I hit rhythm, I'm going to go in. You're going to see all the same parameters, basically, that you find over here on the on-off. So you got your level, your reverb, beat, variation kits. All that's pretty much the same. But it's just, this is designed so that if you're in the memory, you don't have to leave this menu basically to get over here. You can stay in here and adjust things. So I hit the memory button, takes me back out. And that's, basically, again, rhythm menu is basically accessed by the on-off by holding that down as well. If I want to, though, I can turn this knob again, and we'll take you to the next one. And this is where I can name my preset or my memory slot. Different name. So if I want to, I hit the enter, and it allows me to say, hey, I want to go to memory 14 here, and I can adjust what it is. So if I basically turn this, you can see the cursor down below, down here, and it's going to go and move back and forth between the different letters that I can option. So if I pick here, I hit enter, and then now I can adjust that one. You see it highlighted. And basically, if I go through, this goes through capitals and then all the way through numbers and symbols. You have the options. And this is where basically you can name everything. And then the last thing you want to do after you have recorded something is obviously you want to be able to save and write that audio file to the memory of the RC-5. So easy to do. As you can see right here where it says write, right down here in writing on the unit, it means push these two buttons together. Setup and memory. You push them together, and it'll take you to the write utility. And here, this menu allows me to set it where I can write what I've recorded. So if I want, I hit this button right here, and it'll tell me that I'm going to write to 13, and I hit the button again, and that'll save it. So now that is now saved to that, that preset.
Let's do this.
Okay, and that wraps it up for the Boss RC-5 loop station. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you got some knowledge, gained some insight into this awesome little pedal. Again, looping is a super cool thing that, especially during these days, it's great to have a foil for practicing rhythms, practicing arpeggios and scales, or, looping a part for a song. Great thing to be able to do a seamless loop. I want to thank Austin for showing everybody how to do a seamless loop. I think, it's a super important thing to learn. And like I said, once you do it, it's going to open up a whole bunch of possibilities for you.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed learning about it as much as I did making the loops. So once again, Aaron, thank you so much for walking us through the menu. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. If you have any questions, put them down there. We'll try to get to them. And once again, thank you for watching, tuning in, and stick around for the next video where we're going to talk about MIDI and control and expression foot switches. So have fun, guys. Happy looping. See you next time, and be sure to go to boss.info for more about the RC-5 and other Boss products. See ya.
Thank you, guys.